Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Loud and Proud Mamas. We're so happy to have you here. My name is Justine,
And I'm Laura.
and this is Loud and Proud Mamas. Laura, how you doing tonight?
Justine, I'm not feeling super hot tonight. I'm still recovering a bit. We had a bit of a rough week with some colds and minor dental surgery, so it's not the hottest moment. But I'm happy to be here. It's a good distraction, and looking forward to talking about some good stuff.
I'm happy to have you here. I've missed you.
I've missed you too. And how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. My kid officially started daycare today. Today was his first real daycare experience. So it went well. He was a little confused because it's a pretty early morning wake up. Normally, when he wakes up at 6 a.m., we persuade him to sleep until 8. But today, 6 a.m., we're like, all right, buddy, start eating breakfast. We're going to get your shoes on. We're out the door by 6:45. So,
Wow,
yeah, it's
that's
early.
exciting. That's early and exciting. So how did you find it?
It was good. I did not cry, which is, always a positive. You gotta have the stiff upper lip for the kids.
Yeah.
But it was really good. It's a really cute, small home daycare. The person in charge seems to be really competent and really passionate about the work. So, you can't ask for anything better.
And your son, how did he find the being dropped off in a new place? How was the transition for him?
Apparently, he didn't cry, and apparently, he ate a good amount of lunch. So,
Amazing.
tens across the board.
Did you leave him for a full day to start, or is it a progressive start?
Today was just a half day, but tomorrow he's going a full day.
All right, exciting. That's great.
And how's your kiddo doing?
She's good. Daycare drop off today was actually really nice. So we had a rocky start. There were a lot of tears on both ends when we started a few months ago. But today she went right in, waved to all her friends, then ran to her educator and gave her a big hug. And that felt really good to see. It just made me feel like, okay, the tears were worth it. She feels good. She feels secure. And then when I picked her up today, she was wearing these giant blue rain boots that were not hers.
Okay.
And I started worrying. I was like, did I not pack shoes? But no, apparently she found them in the classroom and just was obsessed with them and wanted to walk around with them and put them on. And the educator said she was strutting around like a little model with her big blue boots on. So
Amazing.
That made me laugh.
Amazing. Having a good time.
Exactly. That's all you can ask for.
Speaking of having a good time, I have had a good time as of recently.
Oh, have you?
I have recently. I'm not going to dox myself by telling you the location of where I am, but recently we've had municipal elections here in Quebec. You had them too, I'm sure. We all have them at the same time. And unfortunately, no one ran against my mayor. So he won by default. But we were able to vote for city councillor. And this might sound a little nerdy of me, but I do take voting very seriously. And I contacted all of the candidates and I was like, all right, pitch me. What do you want to do? What are you trying to do? One of them blew me off completely. It was the one who was the sitting city councillor. Another one took me seriously, but seemed kind of confused about the process, not really sure, mostly just wanted to participate in democracy, it felt like, which is, fair enough. Takes all types.
Okay.
And then one of them was just spectacular. He is like fully, I'm a short woman. I'm like 5'3". And so when I say this gentleman, we can see eye to eye. I just want to paint a visual picture for you. Elderly man, boomer, has never missed a city council meeting in his life.
Wow.
Just attends all of them ever since he's moved here. He's originally from Laval, and just real intense guy, real intense about bike lanes, real intense about getting more activities for the youth, real intense about getting more public transportation up and going. and came to my house and yelled about the fact that we didn't have any street lights on our sidewalk. So spectacular. Just an insane little man, and exactly the kind of personality you want on your city council board. And I voted, and he won. And so we're pretty happy about that. So I'm excited to see what kind of chaos he brings to my little village.
Amazing.
Very excited about that. Yes. How did the municipal elections go over on your end?
So first, I just want to say I'm very impressed with you and your political expertise or your political abilities, whatever word we're going to go with.
My participation.
Your participation. Yes. Very impressed. That's wonderful. When you were messaging me about the elections, I got really worried because I was like, oh, did we not get anything in the mail? Because we often forget to check our mailbox. So I was like, oh, did we not get our ballots? So I was in a bit of a panic because I too like to partake. Maybe not in the same way, but I do like the voting aspect and doing my research on my own. And anywho, all to say, I looked it up and no one ran against our district. So there was no...
Oh my God. Yeah.
There was no one. It was just an automatic win. So a little boring on our end. We didn't really get a say.
It's frustrating when that happens. You know? It makes... For me, I almost wish I ran for mayor.
I think you should. I think you could. Hey, who knows?
Absolutely.
You could get your husband to translate, and there you go. Not sure how much he would like that, but...
Yeah, so that's municipal politics. And then for the federal politics, for my listeners out there, I'm sure you're all on the edge of your seats because coming up is the NDP leadership race. So we all know what that means. We're going to vote in a new NDP leader. As we all know, the last federal elections, NDP ate shit, lost our party status, completely crumpled. Thank you, Jagmeet Singh. Wonderful job leading the party into hell directly. And so, listeners, I'm going to confess to you, I don't know who to vote for. I'm tied between Rob Ashton and Avi Lewis. I like a lot of the policies coming out for both of them. So if anyone has not tuned us out completely and just shut off the podcast, tell me, who are you voting for the NDP leadership race? I need to discuss this with you listeners. Tell me who you're voting for. And that's it for the politics segment. I'm so sorry to have inflicted this on you.
So you all can't see Justine right now, but I can. And I'm pretty sure that when she said, for all you listeners whose eyes glazed over, that she was looking directly at me at the blank stare on my face.
Leadership races are a little niche. Like, you know, it's I will admit, like, not even for one of the big two parties like Liberal Conservative, but the NDP leadership race, that's maybe a bit of a niche topic right there, but very important topic.
I have to say, although I am very happy about our democratic society and I am interested in politics to an extent, it is not a hyperfixation of mine, so I do not know it that well. So I will admit that, at least.
I have a question about the ADHD.
Sure.
Is it like an on and off thing for like interests? Is it like full stream or zero stream?
Yes. ADHD, gotcha. You can have your hyperfixations, and then it's really like 0 or 100. If it's something you're interested in, you're like full on interested, and it comes in waves. Like you often, there's like a fixation of the moment, or you can be super interested in sourdough for like a month, and then you'll forget about it and you'll go on to the next thing. And next thing you know, you're going to be into crocheting or woodworking, or these are just some. You should see my craft cabinet of all my started projects that have not come to fruition. Whereas some, like if you think of other types of neurodiversity, like autism spectrum disorder, for instance, often the fixation lasts. You have like one or two interests, and those are your big interests pretty much for life. Whereas ADHD, we just come and go with it's a dopamine race. It's your brain is trying to find what's going to give it dopamine, and the new shiny things give it dopamine. And so it really is like the meme of squirrel, and then you look to the next thing. At least that's my take on it.
Whenever you talk about ADHD, I can relate in the kind of way that like I see it in you and I see it in other people, but I don't relate in a way that it happens to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that's nice.
But speaking of neurodiversity and speaking of mental health and whatnot, how's the family doing, Laura?
Like I said, it was a bit of a rough week, and it kind of leads us to one of the things we wanted to talk about today, which is trying to parent when you're not at 100%, when you're not feeling so hot. It's hard enough when you are feeling good and energized, have a fairly decent amount of sleep, you had a good amount to eat. There's still some things about parenting that are difficult, but on days when, you're either recovering from something, or let's say you're, pregnant with the next child, or you have a stomach flu like we just did the past week, it's really hard to stay on top of it and keep your cool and make the decisions that you want in parenting. At least that's what I've been finding. What do you think about that?
For me, it's a sleep. Like, my son wakes up very reasonably at 3 o'clock in the morning. To be fair, he goes down pretty easily at 6:30. So 6:30 to 3 a.m., lots of people have it worse. But still, it does mean that my REM cycle is interrupted. So either my husband does it or I do it, but one of us is not getting full REM cycle. And it's rough. It's rough. Like that morning after you do the 3 a.m., it's hard. And for reasons, I'm cutting down on the caffeine. So I'm starting the morning with less and less coffee every day. And, the way that I see stress is that you got to manage the physical symptoms of stress. You gotta eat right. You gotta sleep right. You gotta go outside once a day. You got to do all these things, but at the same time, you're parenting this tiny little human, and they come first, in all those important ways. And yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's rough. It's fun and it's fulfilling and it's beautiful, but the 3 a.m.s are rough.
Absolutely. And I know your son is a little younger than my daughter, but my daughter is just about 18 months, and she's becoming full-blown toddler mode. And with that comes some development of attitude, and they're still learning. They're still at an age where they can't manipulate. They don't understand manipulation, but there are moments when it feels like it is. And it is hard to stay calm sometimes, and it's hard to remember that they don't know how to regulate yet. They're learning how to regulate by looking at us. But when we're not sleeping well or eating well or not feeling well, we're not regulating well. And it's very hard to teach someone else how to regulate when we're struggling to regulate. So that's something that I really try to be mindful of is how I present and how I handle these things. And I know that I'm not always perfect, but I'm trying to incorporate a few little strategies just to help with that. And one of them is I'm trying to verbalize emotionally intelligent words early on. So what I mean by that is, like, if I'm getting frustrated, I'll tell my daughter, Mommy needs a break right now. I need a break. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling frustrated. So Mommy's going to go sit over here for a minute until I'm ready to come back, so that she learns that kind of stuff too. And that's in moments when, let's say the shit's really hitting the fan. Doesn't happen often, but there have been a few times. And just reminding myself that my words really matter, and trying to reflect on that with my wife. And I think we're both pretty good with that. I'll give a little example of her current habit that we're struggling a little bit with. So we have a small dog, and he needs to eat and drink water, right?
Very reasonable.
Yeah. Right. But our daughter loves to take his food and dump it on the floor and then rub her hands in it and spread it all over the place, and then take the water and dump it out into the food and rub her hands in it. And she thinks this is really, really funny. And it is really, really funny when you see it. But me and my wife, again, we try really hard. We don't react. We don't laugh. Often we have to turn around and just look at each other so that we don't laugh. Because like, she knows what she's looking at you for a reaction. Like, she knows. She's like, watch this, Mom. Watch this. And I stay really calm. And if I catch the food before the water hits, then I just calmly pick it up, put it back in the bowl, and say, the food stays in the bowl. So just explaining the facts. It's like, the food stays in the bowl. We leave the food in the bowl. And right, because a big negative reaction from what I've read, they're going to see that as reinforcement, even if it's not positive. So they're going to keep doing the behavior. But if you keep it just as very, very clear outline, it's supposed to help. And similarly with not saying words, like if you say, we don't dump the food, they hear the majority of the sentence. So she hears dump the food. That's why we try to say things in the positive. But I'm telling you, it's really, really hard to think of these things in the moment. It takes a lot of practice. We had to go back to it. My wife and I check in, and then we try and fix it the next time. Anywho, because of this, often we have to put the dog food up high because we just don't want to clean this up again. But then the poor dog doesn't eat.
Oh no.
So that's not good. We make sure he eats when she goes to bed, but we're really, really working on breaking this behavior. So it's taking a lot of consistency, and I think we're getting there. But that's just one example of when it's, if I'm not sleeping, if I'm crabby and this happens, oh, did I tell you? I want to yell and say, don't touch the dog food.
Yeah.
I know everyone has their own methods for I'm going to use the word discipline, even though I don't mean it in a disciplinarian way. But we're trying out this strategy. I'll let you know in a few months how it's going.
I'm at that stage where my son is learning to stand, and he's he's very interested in standing, and he's very interested in things that he can reach now that he's pretty good at standing. He still needs to be supported when he's standing, but this is now a problem in the bathtub, because normally we used to take baths together and it was very cute, and he would play with his toys and splash in the water. Now he wants to stand and hold on to the rim of the bathtub, and he has discovered that he can turn on the faucets. And I am very concerned that by accident he's going to turn the faucet to really hot or cold water and turn it on and hurt his tiny little naked body. So now, I'm concerned, like, do I cut out bath time, but it really helps set the stage for sleepy time. And so now I've been struggling with getting him down without the bath. And so, you think you solve one problem and now you have another problem to solve.
Absolutely. And my daughter does that as well. I wonder if this is a common thing for most babies in their standing discovering phase. But yes, we switched to showers for a little while, and I put the face cloths in the bottom so it pulls up a little bit so she can still splash around. But we've done that for a bit to avoid the possible burning situation in the bathtubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel it's hard. Then especially I feel like you get used to a routine, you get into a strategy, and then their development changes, something new happens, and you have to recalibrate and
Mm-hmm.
rethink the whole thing. Yeah. But listeners, if you have any go-to strategies for parenting, please feel free to share them. We are both always learning, so love to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely. We got to set up like some kind of way for the listeners to get a hold of us.
Well, I was thinking of starting up an Instagram.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
And then that way they can also add their comments to each episode thumbnail that we would make, or a post about an upcoming episode. We can have their thoughts to share on there, a little bit of a forum.
All right, listeners, look us up on Instagram. By the time this episode goes live and you're listening to it, we should, in theory, have an Instagram. In theory. We'll see with...
We'll make it happen. I do really well with time pressure. So knowing that Justine is very fast at getting things done and editing the podcast, this gives me a good amount of time pressure to create an Instagram and get it live before the episodes are published.
No problem. I'll give you a countdown for when I start the editing.
Perfect. That's a good trick with me, Justine. Just always give me a deadline. I do great with deadlines. But give me the deadline that you actually want it for. So if you want it before Thursday, but preferably on a Tuesday, then give me the deadline of Tuesday, not Thursday, because I will give it to you Thursday night.
Fair enough.
I don't love these things about me, but they are a part of me.
I think as long as you make it work, that's the important part. Speaking of things that are hard, I want to tell you, man, this last week, I was on a fucking journey with my ovulation testing.
Oh, yeah? Tell me.
So, for reasons, we're doing some ovulation testing, and we're doing the pee strips. So, I have a slightly longer cycle, which is not the end of the world. It's still a regular cycle, but that means that my ovulation window is slightly extended. For most people, well, I don't know even most people, the theory is you have a 28-day cycle, and your LH surge happens more or less 10 days after your period starts. Does that make sense? Or the last day of your period, something like that. You're supposed to be able to track it. So I start testing, and I'm peeing in cups, and I'm doing the dip test with all my life freaking strips. And I'm logging it faithfully in the app. Laura, I am not fucking shitting you. I did 50 of these tests before I finally got the LH surge. My LH surge was late by like 4 or 5 days, and like I was so stressed. I was like, did I miss it? And you start like overthinking everything. Like, did I drink too much water, or did I drink too much coffee? Did I like overhydrate, and now like the test is diluted, and now the test isn't like scoring it properly? Did I one day forget to do the test and I just peed and wasted that opportunity to test that? It was horrible. And I finally got it, and it was late, but it makes sense with my cycle being slightly more extended.
So I've actually never done these tests like this. And so just a clarifying question, do you have to test like just once a day, or you have to test every time you go? Because your surge can be literally like one moment and not the next.
Yeah.
Like, is it really that specific in timing? How long does the surge last for? Like, fill me in a little.
So...
if you don't mind.
For me, I can't speak for everyone, but I did this cycle when I got pregnant with my first one. And so I had the LH surge for like maybe 2 hours, and then it went back down again. So you do have to catch it when it happens.
That's very short window.
Yeah. You have to catch it when it happens.
Okay. I was just going to ask, is this important because it's literally during this surge that you would need to plan an insemination?
Yeah. So, for listeners, the way that my husband and I conceived, we did IUI, so intrauterine insemination. So the way it works with the clinic is you get the LH surge, and then you call the clinic, and you're like, I got it. and they call you back with an appointment for an insemination the next day. So
Okay.
because the idea is that you have the LH surge, and that means that the egg is moving into position.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So we also did, if I can just share in case listeners are interested, or was your story finished? I'll let you finish your story first.
Well, this is just like a moral of the story, is that like at the end I did finally get it. And the moral of the story is just bodies are different, man. You got to be nice to your body. And like I was so frustrated and I was so stressed that I had missed it, or that my body was not producing something that I wanted it to produce. And when I finally got it, I felt a little guilty with how frustrated I was with my body, that, I just, you want your body to do something that is beyond your physical control. And, accepting that is very difficult. And my heart goes out to you listeners if you're in the same boat. But it was a very emotional experience.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. I understand that on a pretty significant level too, because I know for myself, I ended up needing a cesarean with my daughter, and after that process, I was really upset with my body for not doing what I thought it was born or created to do. And I was really mad that I wasn't able to have that experience. So I know it's on a different topic, but I really understand that feeling of just that frustration. And though it's taken a good amount of time and I'm in a good place, I know that my daughter and we both needed it, but it takes some time. It takes some healing to get over those kind of feelings.
Bodies, man. It's like, your brain, your soul, and your body, you're just trying to get them in sync all the time.
Yeah, and they are not always in sync, that's for sure.
Speaking of bodies, I hear that you have some tips and tricks on how to feed our bodies.
So yes, it's something that I think we have very opposite experiences with, but I'm going to be interested to hear your take. So I would say my daughter is not a picky eater, but she's not the easiest eater either. She will put almost everything to her mouth, like to a fault. Like she will put the dog food to her mouth. But she tries everything, which I'm really happy with, but she doesn't always want to eat it. And with the rising cost of food these days, I'm telling you, sometimes those moments of frustration, they arise during the meal times, because I'll prepare her this nice meal, this good amount of food, and some of it, or a good portion of it sometimes, goes completely untouched. And it could be hard sometimes. So an example tonight, this was a positive, but she was hungry. She was asking for more food after she had finished her portion. She went to the fridge and she was asking, in French, she was asking for more. She was saying encore and pointing at the fridge. So I opened the fridge door and she reaches in and pulls out an avocado and really wants this avocado. And my daughter is on the smaller side, so she's, we had some problems with her gaining weight for a bit. So we're very much that if she wants to eat more, we'll give her more. And we prioritize those really nutrition dense foods and the healthy fats.
Absolutely.
So I'm all happy for her to have an avocado. But as you know, the cost of avocados are a lot. And if once you commit to cutting up an avocado, if it was more like, am I going to cut up this avocado and she's not going to touch it, because sometimes she won't. And then it's just going to go brown. Because I had already eaten, so I was not prepared to eat a whole avocado. Anywho, long story short, tonight she did eat a whole half of an avocado.
Success.
So I cut up the avocado. Success.
Good job.
It was great. It was wonderful. Yes. So that's a happy side. But I'm telling you, the amount of yogurts that go uneaten, or the amount of certain things, I also don't love the food waste aspect, so it's hard. And I know listeners might be thinking, well, why don't you just eat it? For the most part, I do. I usually feed her first so that I eat her leftovers. But there are some things that I'm not a fan of, and I still want her to have them because they're good for her, and so I will still serve them to her and just kind of bite the bullet on that. And another thing when it comes to food in our home is my wife is a very picky eater. And if she's listened to this, I'm sorry that I'm telling the world about this, but she's working on it. She's working really hard since she's met me. She's gained a good maybe 15, 20 new foods, which is really good. And so I'm very proud of her. But we do not want our daughter to have these same habits. And an unfortunate side of living in a home where one of them is a very picky eater and one of them is very ADHD, so easily influenced, is that we do sometimes eat not the healthiest meals. And we don't want to serve that to our daughter. So we do have healthier options that we present to her. I think I got sidetracked on my story here, but all to say, yeah, it's a bit of a struggle sometimes dealing with that aspect of it.
So how do you deal with it? You said you came across some resources that were helping you.
Yes, so I have seen posts on Instagram or whatnot, but I just looked up a list of some healthy eating habit strategies to incorporate with kids and toddlers. And some of them I find quite good, and we try to incorporate those. One of them is separating eating from performance. So not doing those things like saying just one more bite, or if you do this, you'll get a reward, or if you eat your dinner, you'll get dessert. So things like that can actually cause picky eating because it adds a performance anxiety to the meal times. There's pressure on the food on top of it. So some kids then it turns into a battle because of this. And it's also putting food as rewards. There shouldn't be labeling of foods as good foods or bad foods. It's all just food. Because when we victimize or villainize food by saying this is good or this is a treat, we take it away from what it really is. Food is energy, and everything in moderation. Have you heard of any of these?
Yeah. I haven't heard of them, but I've invented them from first principles.
Elaborate.
So for example, my dad, God bless him, he's Polish, and he came to Canada in the 80s, and that's when he learned a lot of his nutritional facts. So if you can imagine, kind of late 80s, early 90s, there was a lot of demonization of there's good food and bad food. And in Poland, sausage culture is very big. We have a lot of different kinds of sausages. It's a big part of the culture there is sausage. And at some point, my dad internalized that sausage was made from bad meat, and that the meat inside sausages was bad for you. And if you take a step back, you can kind of see how he got there, where you make sausage from tough cuts of meat, from trimmings. It comes from an ideology of not trying to waste anything. So everything that you're not using tenderloin in sausage.
I know what you mean.
Know what I mean? You're using pork shoulder, you're using the ends and bits. And if you take it as the animal has given you the sacred gift of its life, of its body, none of it is bad. Just because the meat is tough and needs to be ground up, that's not a bad cut of meat. That's just a different type of meat that needs to be cooked in a certain technique. And so, my dad, he didn't eat sausages for a long time because he kind of internalized this idea that sausages were bad. And fair enough, you don't eat sausages every day, for every meal. But, it makes me sad when I talk to him and he tells me how much he misses sausages, but he can't get over this mental block of it's a bad food. This is a food that is bad. And I'm like, man, that bums me out. There's so much like cultural significance in this food, and it's good. Like I make sausages, I
Mm-hmm.
make kielbasa, and like I don't know. Anyways, this is just to say, yeah, I'm familiar with the good food, bad food, and from first principles, I just reject it. I'm like, no, no, there's no such thing as bad
Yes.
food. It's all good
Yeah.
food.
I like that too. And I've also heard people using descriptive words for food instead of saying, this is healthy or this is not healthy, be like, um, let's say you're referring to cheese. Like, this food helps our bones because of the calcium. It's very much on the facts, and it tells what,
Mm-hmm.
it's, rather than saying it's healthy, it has this property to it. Or these foods have a lot of vitamins in them. They help with our immune system. They help with this, so that kids learn. I guess I'm talking more at an older age. You're not necessarily going to say this to your 10-month-old, but as they're learning more, maybe when they're in elementary school, learning more about foods and what they do, instead of just labeling them healthy or not healthy, explaining what they do. Or, um, chocolate is a treat that or not a treat. We just said don't say that. Chocolate is, how would you describe chocolate, Justine, in this principle?
I mean, do we have to avoid the word treat? Like, can we say, like, chocolate is
Yeah,
something we
I
eat
think that works.
sometimes? Chocolate is something that, we don't have every day, but, we have it. I don't know. Like, I don't think we should be afraid of the word
No, I think
treat.
you're
I
right.
think, we can
Yeah.
say, like, every now and then we have some
Yeah.
chocolate.
So you bring me to a thought about, first time mom here, parenting, and you want to do the right thing, right? But there's so much information now that it's hard to know which route to go on. I know that there's listening to your instincts, and you're just, you do what you got to do. But there's so much information out there that sometimes it's a little overwhelming.
Maybe this is not a good idea, but I actively avoid mommy blogs and like mom videos. Like, I do have a couple of resources that I use from the government of Canada, from the government of Quebec. Like, I have like certain
Mm,
official references that I go to, and I'll talk to like specific people. Like, I'll talk to my mother, I'll talk to my mother-in-law, I'll talk to you, I talk to, a few other moms, but I keep that
okay,
circle pretty
interesting.
limited. Yeah, I don't know. So far, so good. So far, it keeps me less
Okay, I see
anxious
it.
about am I
Yeah.
doing the right thing? Like when you only have like one of three options, you're like, well, this is the option. Whereas when you have one
Yes,
of 30
absolutely.
options,
I think the thing for me is I really like research. I like knowing and I'm interested in childhood development. I did some schooling in it, so I had a good base, and things change so quickly with different studies and different research, so I try to stay on top of it a bit. But there can be some conflicting views and some conflicting research studies. So that's probably where I'm getting a bit of the overload of information. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm too anxious about it, but I'm more like curious and interested and indecisive as to which route I want to take in which moment. But um, I can see how your strategy works well for you, so that's great.
yeah, I remember with the baby led weaning, I'm part of the Reddit group,
Mm.
Food But for Babies. And I see some of the strategies the moms use there where they introduce one food at a time. Um, like, and we
Mm-hmm.
did that for allergens, absolutely, like mustard, soy, peanut butter, etc. But I was just like, I'm not serving meat with no sauce. Like, I don't eat meat with no sauce. So like my son's first food was like carnitas with like right like I it was something like that. It was like carnitas with
Mm.
some other food, but sometimes like this wisdom of like you get it from other
Yeah.
people and you're like, that's not going to work with my baby, that wouldn't even work with me.
And so, something that my wife and I like to say to ourselves is we know that we're going to make mistakes as parents. We know it's going to happen, but our goal is to try and get our daughter's therapy bill in the future to be as small as possible. So we know that there's probably going to be something we do that's going to lead her to needing a little bit of therapy, because in my opinion, everybody needs a little bit of therapy. But if we could do things to make that bill as small as possible, then I think we're doing things pretty okay.
I think that's some good words of wisdom to end us off for the night. So everyone, may you live your life in a way that minimizes your therapy bills.
Live trauma-free if possible.
Absolutely. I think we're going to wrap it up here for the night. Laura, you got anything else you want to tell the listeners?
I think that sounds good. Don't forget to check out our social media and let us know what you think about our first few episodes. And if you have topic ideas, we'd love to hear what they are.
All right, listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this jazz journey. My name is Justine.
And I'm Laura.
And this is Loud and Proud Mamas. See you next time.
Have a great night, everyone.